Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
And I am deeply honored to be in the company of you all in my very short-lived engagement meant to tell you a little bit of the kind of document and publication we're about to unveil for Namibia's 30 years. In my last 24 months at this posting, we've done a lot of crisscrossing around the country, only for myself to understand what planning is all about. And my simplest explanation, not being an economist, but familiar with much of it from my previous work, is that both in geology and planning, you must get out, relate what you read, research to the actual object out in the field. And that's precisely what myself and the NPC team have done for much of the first 2 months of last year and a few weeks in the previous year. Now, we then decided that we are about to hit 30 years. And what is it that we are going to be doing come March 21, 2020? And for that purpose, last year, June, as of about June, the National Planning Commission fielded several teams to many of the regions and many of our projects to try and document a process that illustrates and brings home into the documentary stories of Namibians affected or are beneficiaries of the developmental efforts. And much of that required a lot of the teams that is here with me. I wish they could all stand, just so you put a name to a face. With me here is the Executive Director, Madam Anneli Haifeni. She's here next to the Minister. Then we have Mr. Sylvester Bangu, a Director and Deputy ED in the Ministry.
By the way, he's a former student of mine. That's why I like
so
teaching.
you are very young.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the team, in the interest of time, that spend many hours talking to people, covering the length and breadth of the country, speaking, documenting, interviewing, with the assistance, of course, Namibia Press Agency. So the effort is really a tripartite arrangement between National Planning, Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology, and of course the technocrats in the media industry, Namibia Press Agency. So the result really is the many hours is an output document that really looks at every sector, so to speak, summarize that, compares that to 1990, March 21, and tries to document whatever dollar is spent and quantify that by projects. What have we achieved? What have we wasted? Where are we? Much of that is what we try to compute and bring both by way of a video and a publication of this nature. So we would be, now there is one more ministry that I forgot to mention, my apologies, and that's to represent State House, under which the National Planning Commission, by a reporting line, actually is structured, is the Minister in the Presidency, Honorable Anjaba, was also is part of this exercise, just to try and cover everyone else. Now, in my short-lived presence here, I am not going to endeavor to tell you what's in the document. It's a very juicy one. It's a very detailed document. It really does attempt in some sort of detail lay out to the reader the statuses between 1990 and 2020 in a lot of details. We couldn't do that for the documentary by way of a video. As you know, you media practitioners, that takes time. The NBC is going to start airing that very documentary, I think, if it hasn't already done so, in part. So these copies, there will be 6,500 copies of this document, paid for by the National Planning Commission, to be distributed on the day of independence. Of course, we now know that the notorious virus is with us, and much of those gatherings have been put in abeyance. But we will go ahead and distribute these documents. In conclusion, Honorable Minister, the many hours endeavored and endured by the team, the many trips, long nights of editing, at least it gives me a little bit of a glimpse of what happens behind your beautiful cameras. Just thought all the time is there are men named for ministers when they look the most grumpy. But it appears that they have a big story to tell to everyone. I appreciate that. So those many hours must of course be converted in a very deep and sincere thanks to the officials of the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology, Namibia Press Agency. We didn't have much input from the staff of the Ministry or the Ministry in the Presidency, except at the ministerial level, just to consult whether the efforts in what they are doing and what we are doing are not actually overlapping one another. And in that case, we managed that very well. So these professionals spend endless hours in the last stages of putting out this document. On a Sunday, past Sunday, we spend an hour or two just to sort of review the document, agree the last dots on the I's and crossing the T's, just so we can try and have a best attempt at something more qualitative, something more acceptable to the reader, the eye, and something very telling about its content. And the result of it is what we have. In this journey, there was just no use of anyone outside by way of services except printing. All of it is done by staff of the three ministries. So there is capacity in the country, I believe so. And I think it's a very good lesson. Going forward, it is my wish, and I have tried to lobby the minister to my left and the other at State House, that there is a lot to tell about development. If you quantify the quantum spent on development projects between the first day of independence to now, anyone willing to take a guess? It's about 90 to $100 billion Namibian. So in that sort of quantum, there is much to tell. Maybe us at NPC, it's time we wake up. But of course, the threat of Corona is pushing us back to where we feel most comfortable. Out somewhere in our own offices, and not out to actually tell the citizens as to what happens to that very dollar spent in the development part of the national budget. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I am now with my colleague on my right here, willing to launch this very report so that the distribution of it can start happening. We have, I think it's 23 copies.
for now.
As the first run, we couldn't manage printing the 6,500 total. So, and these are, I think, meant for distribution at this very function. So with that, Minister, you and I, maybe he can, instead of using his phone, he can actually start a market business.
Sure.
And herewith, ladies and gentlemen, we are launching this. Hopefully, we will receive your critics. Hopefully, we can cement the idea for the National Planning Commission to start periodically telling the public what happens on the development side of the national budget by way of publications of this nature. I thank you very much.